Hey everybody, today I want to talk to you about incremental training, or you may have heard it referred to as graded exposure. Such an important, helpful tool in our mind-body healing journey. And it was so helpful for me in a number of activities and triggers, things that I wanted to reintroduce, but that I had fear or pain when I tried to approach it or think about it. So let's talk about some of the steps and ways that we can incorporate or reincorporate those movements that maybe you're getting fear about or pain, and break it down into tiny little steps so it is achievable and makes your brain feel safe. So let's talk about two instances. We'll talk about reintroducing food and then also doing a specific activity. So the goal with incremental training or graded exposure is to take tiny little steps toward the goal that you want to achieve, whether that's an activity or reintroducing a food, and along the way, making your brain feel safe by doing little tiny steps, messages of safety, and so forth. So let's take the first instance. So say you want to reintroduce being able to eat an apple. So the first step would be visualizing eating that apple, how amazing it tastes. It's so good for you. It's so healthy. Maybe imagining the texture in your mouth and just how wonderful it tastes and how happy you are to be eating the apple again. Now, if you get symptoms or any kind of reaction, you might even get an emotional reaction. Maybe fear or anxiety might come up. If you get any type of reaction simply from visualizing eating the apple, you know for sure that that is a mind-body reaction. It's produced simply by visualizing it, right? So if you get symptoms upon visualizing eating the apple, the first thing to do is calm yourself back down. Whatever techniques are helpful, messages of safety, maybe any somatic exercises, and bring yourself back down from that reaction. Once you have calmed down, you want to stay at that level, at that step of visualizing eating the apple until you don't get symptoms anymore. And so when you are visualizing, think about how wonderful you feel, how good it tastes, that you're so excited to be able to be eating an apple again. And again, stay at that first step until you are able to do that with messages of safety and that it does not produce symptoms or fear or anxiety or other emotions. So once you achieve that step, take the next tiny step up, which might be, say, looking at a picture of an apple or actually having one in front of you. And when you're either looking at the picture or maybe you have one on your counter in front of you, if you are getting symptoms, maybe you feel some nervousness, some anxiety, if any of that happens, or any physical symptoms or sensations in your body, again, go back to messages of safety and calm. Add in thinking about joy, maybe smiling. But anytime we get an actual reaction simply from looking at it or visualizing it, first we want to calm down our nervous system and brain, and then approach that step again with messages of safety and telling yourself, I'm okay, I'm safe, there is nothing wrong with me. I know I'm okay, this is just my brain. And bring in some joy. This is good for me. I'm happy I get to eat an apple again. This is one of the many things I'm going to be able to eat again. There's nothing I can't eat. So bring in those messages of safety and stay at that step until you have no symptoms, no reactions from simply looking at the apple, or even any emotional responses or reactions. So the next step after that, maybe one tiny step up from that, might be to cut into an apple and touch it. Again, if that produces symptoms, Reactions go back to the calming, the messages of safety, and then attempt that step again until you get no reaction, no symptoms. So what we're doing here is going little by little, tiny, tiny steps, helping your brain feel safe along the way, telling yourself, there's nothing wrong. This is good for me. This is healthy for me. I can eat this with joy. Maybe see if you can smile, put a smile on your face, because that is going to impact your emotions and your brain and kind of help your brain along the way to know that you're safe. The next little step might be to touch a piece of apple to your tongue. The next little step after that might be to take the tiniest, tiniest bite. And then maybe the next step after that, a little bit of a bigger bite. But along the way, always bringing in those messages of safety, telling yourself there is nothing wrong with you. You have joy. Try to put a smile on your face when you're telling yourself this. So hopefully that makes sense. Now let's look really quick about how we could do that with an activity. It could be any activity that triggers symptoms or fear or anxiety. I had a lot. So for me, sitting was very, very difficult, so painful. Bending was hard, trying to do any kind of squats. So let's take sitting, for example. I could sit on a couple surfaces without severe pain, but other surfaces, there was absolutely no way. I knew it was my brain, but I had to be able to sit again. I mean, that's something that I think we take for granted until we can't suddenly sit. So what I did first is started simply with the visualizing myself sitting in all these different places around my house, outside, on concrete, on the deck, on the couch, on the kitchen chair, in my office chair, which strangely enough at the time I could barely sit like for a minute. So visualizing myself sitting all those different places with ease, with joy, with messages of safety. After I got through visualizing and got my brain to a point of feeling safe with that, then I started looking at pictures on the computer of other people sitting in various places, maybe on a park bench, having a picnic at a restaurant table with like non-padded chairs, non-padded benches, which to me was terrifying at the time. So starting with looking at those kinds of pictures, giving myself messages of safety, I'm okay, I can sit, there's nothing wrong with me, bringing a smile to my face. And then the next step after that, after I wasn't getting symptoms at that point from looking at pictures, was to actually start the activity. So depending where you're at, what your threshold, so to speak, is, maybe you can only do something for 15 seconds. Maybe right now you can do something for 2 minutes. But start at the level that where you don't feel fear, you don't feel symptoms. Start there with safety, messages to your brain, joy, smiling, and then see if you can add a little bit more time to that activity. Maybe it's another 15 seconds. Maybe it's a whole other minute. And each tiny step of the way, making yourself feel safe. There's nothing wrong. I can do all things through Christ in me. This is just my brain. So hopefully this helps, gives you an idea of how you might be able to relate it to food reintroduction, as well as any activity that you find triggering. So let me know if you have questions. I hope this helps, and I'll see you next time.